Well, hello, and welcome back to Studio Visits with Jamar Nicholas. I'm Jamar Nicholas, your humble host. Welcome to this very special NCS Open House Zoom. If you've never been here before, I am the host of this monthly, is that how you say that? Series where we open the doors to the public and also spotlight one of the heroes of the National Cartoonist Society. A little bit about myself. I am a graphic novelist, and I have a series at Scholastic underneath the graphics imprint. But more importantly to you guys, I'm on the board of the NCS, and I'm also the Philadelphia chapter chair. Go Birds. Guys, I have a very exciting episode to bring you today. New to my chapter, but not new to the NCS, we have John Kovaleski in the studio today. Well, actually, at his studio, and we're going to have a nice conversation. I'm really excited to learn more about John and also to celebrate him. So let's not waste any time. Let's bring him in. Hey, John.
Hey, Jamar, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
I'm a little embarrassed by you calling me one of the heroes of the NCS. That's a bit much.
Hey,
I'm one of the sidekicks, lower powered sidekicks of the NCS.
Not all heroes wear capes, my friend.
That's true.
Thanks so much for coming on with me today. I always tell the people that I have been interviewing over the time that this is real low-fi, it's low wattage. There's nothing to really worry about. We're just talking.
Sure.
They're just words. They're just
words. They're just words.
John, are you used to being interviewed?
I've been interviewed a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
I've done a handful of podcasts.
Yeah.
I'm okay with talking in front of a crowd. One of the other things I do in addition to this is that I teach part-time. I teach art at a college.
Mm-hmm.
So, standing up in front of people and talking is usually okay.
Yeah. I'm always a little surprised because I don't know, maybe it's a personality thing or maybe even just kind of time in the trenches. But I'm always a little surprised when I see cartoonists or meet cartoonists who are totally uncomfortable doing things like this.
Yeah. I mean, that actually makes sense to me because we're really used to, living a life that, is basically, let's see, here's my screen that's that wide. Or you live in a room and you see somebody once a day, if you're lucky.
Mm-hmm.
And so, the ability to sort of interact with others is, just not there oftentimes. So you're mostly in your own head. So it makes some sense that some cartoonists might not be the best at talking, I guess.
Well, these are questions that I did not prep you for, so I feel bad.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. I mean, the only answers I'm really good at are stuff about myself, theoretically. It's the only subject that I know the best, I guess.
You get high scores in that. Well, I was going to ask you about teaching because I didn't know about your teaching background. What do you, and this might be like a lopsided question, but what do you get out of teaching?
I think I get the ability. So I teach a couple of different courses. Primarily, I teach intro to drawing.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually started when I started teaching, which was around 93, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I was teaching cartooning. These are all part-time adjunct things.
Yeah.
And then that kind of led me to teach drawing. I have a standard art school background where we had to take a bunch of core courses in drawing, 2D design, 3D design. So I have a background in this. And then school-wise, I primarily went into graphic design initially. So I teach drawing. I teach cartooning occasionally if it fits in the schedule. And occasionally I teach, because I have a slight film background, I'll teach graphic novels to film in the film department, which is basically an adaptation course. It's comics to movies, basically.
Yeah.
but what I get, I think, is a little bit certainly interaction, certainly a way to kind of step out of myself a little bit, out of sort of this interior life of thinking of stuff, writing stuff down, drawing stuff, and it broadens my world
Yeah.
a bit. And you know, I although it is a student teacher relationship, it's nice to be meeting other people, and just being in the outside world and being in a world that's, although art related, different than what what a cartoonist is working with.
Yeah. No, I never really thought about it, but I think there's so many benefits to teaching, even if the only one is if it keeps you connected to what's going on in the world with
Oh
young
yeah,
people.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Young folk. it's
Folk. Yeah.
it's funny how time flies when you get older. Where
Yeah.
you know, I used to, in my graphic novels film, and there was a big stretch in between the times I was teaching, and there was a giant break.
Mhm.
Probably, I can't remember. It was maybe like 5 to maybe 10 years. It was a sizable break,
Mhm.
and I was teaching. I'll make this short. I was teaching. We were looking at Watchmen,
Yeah. Wow.
and we, you know, and the whole thing with Watchmen is there is a manufactured global event that actually just happens in New York. In the movie, it's different, blah, blah, blah. And the whole
Mhm.
world comes together.
Right.
And when I previously taught it, we could talk about what happened on 9/11. And then in the intervening years, when I taught it again, at least the students I was teaching it in like 2010
Mhm.
were alive during 9/11. They may have been little kids, but they remember it and everything like that. And
Yeah.
then you hop, a bunch of years, and you have kids who, you know, 9/11 might as well be World War II.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just in this foggy past. And it's hard to sort of relate this as a, you know, as a moment that is somehow part of their lives, as opposed to a moment that is part of the past,
Yeah.
pre them.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and also, like, from your end, it's like, "Oh, wow, the thing that I used to do doesn't work anymore. I have to
Yep.
change this."
Yep.
And I think that's a real smooth way of keeping you thinking.
Yes. Yes,
Y
it really does. It
y
really, really does. It's
So
like
s
it's
Go
like
ahead.
the time when I was talking to a student and we were going through um, all of his work. And this was like, I don't know, 5 years ago, something like
Mm,
that, going
mhm.
through his work. And he uses the word fire as something that is good. And I'm like,
Right, right.
what are you talking about? This is before I had a teenager. And he explains it to me, and I'm explaining, oh, okay. And I said, you know, everybody's going to get old. I explained the whole
Mm,
Grandpa Simpson thing of like, you'll feel like you're with it, but then you'll years later you're trying to figure out what it is. And I, not even ironically, it spills out of me. I use the phrase "heavens to Betsy," a phrase that I was not alive for when it showed up, whenever it was, in the 1920s or whatever. And I am just like, holy crap, we're talking about the word fire. I use the phrase "heavens to Betsy."
I just had this vision of you, like, chasing a hoop down the street with a stick.
Yeah,
That's all.
that
That's
was,
all.
yeah, that was me. That was me.
Well,
Just
let's start talking about kind of bridging off of teaching and keeping current.
okay.
John, this is my first question to you. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
This is an incredibly tough one. I know I've definitely gotten advice over the years from cartoonists, from other from other artists and the like. And having watched these before, I've had this come up, and
Yeah.
I'm a little flummoxed. So
Okay.
let me turn it a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
what's the advice I would give my younger self?
I was going to ask you
Yeah, and I think I would say, um, don't be afraid of of trying this.
Mm.
Don't be afraid of doing artwork and failing. Um, and I think I've lived with a lot of fear of failure, which
Mhm.
caused me to start my cartooning career a lot later than most people, I think.
Mhm.
I also kind of left cartooning at a certain, or left the idea of doing, I always wanted to be a cartoonist since I was a kid,
Yeah.
but left that idea as I was getting closer to college, and was also, I'm the first person in my, like, on the definitely on on my father's side of the family to go to and graduate from college.
Yeah.
Um, and there's definitely a, a concern and a pressure, an internal pressure to get a job.
Mhm.
So you're kind of looking towards that. And because I had always wanted to have a comic strip, and it was very hard for me to see broader than that.
Right.
And I didn't, anyway. So it was basically, I didn't get into it as soon as I would have liked to, but I think I would have said to myself, try things. And I did try things in other
Mm.
artistic endeavors, but I think there was just a lot of kind of fear involved.
It's great that you said that because I marvel at how people are teaching kids and young people these days. We're kind of now in a world where you hear things like fail forward. You know what I mean? And
Sure.
don't be afraid to make mistakes and all that kind of stuff. We didn't come up like that.
No,
You know what I
no.
mean? I mean, you learn hard knocks. It's a little different way
Right.
of turning that around.
Right. And one thing I tell my students too is, when and I've taught courses on, like, sketchbook drawing before, like community art courses.
Yeah.
And one thing I'll do, because I do this with myself, I will tell people, and I have sketchbooks in my class as well,
Yeah.
is saying, don't be afraid to make a bad drawing. And I'll even put limits. I'll go, this is just what I'll do. I'll go, okay, no longer than 10 minutes,
Mm,
and you're not allowed to rip a page out of your sketchbook.
no.
Bring it in, we'll talk about it, we'll learn from it. And and I think we also get this feeling, and even on social media, I mean, I post stuff out of my sketchbook, and a lot of times I question whether I should be posting it, because it's like, you know
Right.
but what we think of as being sketches a lot of times are, like Michelangelo knocking out some beautiful thing on some scrap of paper,
Right.
and you think of that as a sketch, a preliminary study, and
Mhm.
that's like, you know, that's too hard to live up to.
Right.
And even what gets posted by our colleagues, what they're posting from their sketchbooks, are usually pretty spectacular.
Right.
Um, and as drawings, and it doesn't need to be, it doesn't need to be knocking stuff out of the park. You can just do stuff on your own, and you can just do stuff on your own and
Mhm.
just develop yourself.
Like that. Live fearless. I like
Yeah, well, that would be great if I could do that.
that.
that's
So
a that's
speak.
a, that's a good thing to live up to.
Yeah. Well, I think we could all try to get more of that. So
Sure.
speaking of sketchbooks, let's go to my next question, John.
Okay.
Do you keep a sketchbook?
I do. The weird thing is, for a while, my art practice, this is before I started Daddy Days, my most recent strip.
Mm,
Um, just to keep myself going, I was drawing in my sketchbook every day.
okay.
And I would definitely sort of just start with drawing a line and see where it develops. I wouldn't go in with uh, a distinct thing I'm going to do.
Mm,
Sometimes it's also a question. I mean, I know people who have, both writers and artists, who get like this, where you've got a nice sketchbook. It's got, especially the oh gosh, what are the Moleskine,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Those are super nice,
Yeah.
and they just feel like they need, a Michelangelo sketch in them. They don't need something by me. And it wasn't until I started, like, I've got one of these upstairs and one downstairs,
Mhm.
where I got these. I started getting these at Barnes and Noble, And these are,
Oh,
and
that's
I
nice.
put stickers on them just so I can keep them. But
Yeah.
they got the kind of paper I wanted, sort of a
Mhm.
little bit rougher. They're kind of crappy, and which is fine for me.
Yeah.
And so, but I don't draw on them quite as often as I'd like to.
Yeah.
Occasionally I'll pick them up. When my son was a little bit younger, we'd we'd both have sketchbooks that we would um, work with, and we'd sort of work on at the same time.
Mhm.
Um, but I do keep one, but it's not really for idea formation necessarily for me.
Mhm.
It's for kind of a break from what I'm doing, or doing something different than I'm doing. Like, I remember seeing, um, I think it's Jerry Scott,
Mhm.
um, who was standing by a stack of sketchbooks that that he's been using uh, for Zits and Baby Blues all these years. And for me, I can't write gags in a sketchbook because I need to have them separated to put them in
Right.
different piles. Like,
Right.
this is the real crappy pile. I use the word crap a lot. This is the pile that isn't as bad. So, I tend to just use, 8.5 by 11. What do I got here? So this is what a gag looks like to me. And,
Mhm.
you know, it's on a piece of paper that came from the college I teach at, that was just in recycling. Somebody printed out a bunch of stuff. I'll grab it and I'll write on the back.
Right.
And that's what I use, because I can easily move them around. I don't know how
Mhm.
people are using sketchbooks to write their gags, can, I don't know, find the gag when they need it, all of
Right.
those kind of things. Anyway, so
Because you need to be able to, like you said, access it and get
yeah,
it out or move it around. Yeah, if
yep,
it's like
yep,
found in a book, it's like, no,
yeah,
I
and
understand.
it would be lovely if I had all that stuff. Instead, I've got a giant pile of papers, and I actually, one of one of the jobs for my son this summer might be trying to match up these gag sheets and dating them with the date for the strip that it was done,
Nice.
which will be, I was doing okay keeping up with that for a while, and then I wasn't.
Yeah, that's a good summer job.
Yes. Yeah.
So speaking of paper,
Yes.
what's currently on your plate slash drafting table? What are you working on these days?
Well, right now I am working on, so because I teach,
Hmm.
and because I have a variety of like other jobs at the college. I'm actually the preparador for the art gallery that's on campus.
Hmm.
Um, I work in advising. I do academic coaching. This semester has been completely nuts,
Hmm.
and so I am behind. Like any
Yeah.
good cartoonist, I am behind. And so what I'm working on right now is, I was actually doing a little bit of this while I was waiting.
Mhm.
I've got a bunch of strips that
Mhm.
I am doing because I'm behind,
Can
that
can
I'm
I
inking
give
right now.
you the solo if you wanna
Oh,
hold that up
sure.
a bit?
So basically, I'm in. All right, here's one that's like half done,
Oh, that's
and
great.
I'm doing this sequence that there was a storm and a power outage.
Mhm.
Um, so Angus and his dad are dealing with that, and so that's what I'm working on right at the moment.
Wow, that's
A
great.
bunch of those. I didn't do the gag, but I drew and finished a Sunday yesterday.
Mhm.
Still needs to be scanned and colored,
Mhm.
but I'm trying to, the semester's over. I've got work to do in the gallery this week, but I'm trying. My summer is going to be, let's catch up, let's get ahead.
Oh, and speaking of that,
Famous last words.
this time of year, it's commencement, right?
Yes.
Are
Yep.
you involved in that on campus too,
Um, I'll
in
be
some
I'll
degree?
I'll be going.
Mhm.
As an adjunct, I don't have to go, but I do have a couple of seniors
Mhm.
that were students. So I have my mom moved in the last couple of years and found, for whatever reason, from one of her kids, a couple of graduation robes,
Wow.
and so I have one of those for free, and I bought a really cheap master's collar that you know, was the right colors for my school and for my, major and all this other kind of stuff. So yeah, I'll be going. It's kind of fun to go. I haven't gone in a couple of years.
That's fantastic. You've got the gear. You're ready to go.
Yeah,
That's
I don't have
great.
the hat, which is, hopefully it won't be in the sun. That's
Yeah,
hard on me,
yeah, that's yeah,
being a
that's I
bald
could
guy.
I could see that be a problem. Oh, wow. So, you know what? Let's go to the next question. I want to save some
Sure.
time so we can really kind of dig into this. Tell us about your studio, John.
My
Tell us about your
studio.
space. Yeah.
So I live in an old duplex, which sounds like a modern word, and maybe it is, but it was built in like 1908 or something like that.
Mhm,
And luckily, it was completely renovated before we moved in.
mhm,
And so it's really nice. And the third floor, so it's a duplex. So this is a very narrow. It's even narrower than most. So my house is only like 15 feet wide, which is insane,
mhm.
but it's long and
Yeah.
it has 3 floors. So the third floor was actually kind of done as a master
Mhm.
bedroom, but it became my studio.
Yeah.
So I'm on like the laptop right now. I've got a drawing table right here. I've got computer stuff over here,
Mhm.
and then let's just make a small tour. I've got a lot of books on this side.
Nice.
My son actually, let's see if I can do this.
Yeah, there you go.
My son has a draft drawing table over here.
Oh, that's
Uh,
so cool.
he doesn't draw as much as he used to.
Mhm.
Um, he actually does the art for the drop panels for my Sundays,
Wow.
and he's been doing that for a few years. So every couple of weeks, I'll pull him up and I'll go, okay, we need to do. I pay him a little bit of money; it's his allowance,
Mhm.
and then we'll talk about. I'll either show him the gag if I've drawn it, or I'll read it out loud if I've only written it,
Yeah.
and then I will we'll go back and forth, and he'll do some art for me. Like okay, so where's the Sunday I just did? So yeah, so he did. This is his drop panel here for one of the Sundays.
That's really good.
Um, we went back and forth, and he was like, yeah, he was trying to figure out how to do these panels. He wanted to do panels on this,
Yeah.
and then he drew Angus, which is a version of him as a infant.
Mhm.
He's 15 now.
Mhm.
Um, and it didn't come out very well because he was drawing it really small, so he redrew it up here.
Oh, I
So
got
when there's time, I'll have him color it
you. Mhm.
in Photoshop. Usually there is not time. I'm running
Yeah.
against the clock, so I'll
Mhm.
just take it and do it myself.
How
So
is that? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut
no,
you off.
and I was just the rest of the studio kind of that way
Yeah.
is what I like to call a sleeping couch right here, which is a futon actually covered with books right now,
Mhm.
TV over there, and there's a little alcove where I have a nice comfy chair for reading.
Oh, yeah. I think having good thinking furniture in your studio is always really good.
Yep.
Usually my dog is in my chair over there in the corner, but I think that's the thought that counts.
Sure.
How does it feel? Does your son feel like he's got a famous dad and now he's in the family business, that kind of thing, or is it just that you're upstairs doing that thing you do, and he comes and helps you once in a while?
You know what? I think he was really. I think he likes it a lot.
Mm.
I've unlike I've heard certainly a lot of cartoonists whose kids are just like whatever, dad.
Right, right, right.
And I think he likes it a lot. He's not as involved as he was when the strip was starting up. So it's been almost 7 years. So if I was to use some math, he was about 8, and I was
Mm,
doing work on it before that.
right.
He would be very involved. He would read every comic strip. Um, he was very sweet. I mean, the comic strip is basically him and me, fictionalized versions of him and me, um, that I started doing in grad school, because when I was in grad school, I was um, he was about to be born.
Mhm.
So I was still in grad school when he was born, and so I did a weekly comic strip and just put it up on WordPress, and it was true stories of parenthood, of first time parenthood.
Yeah.
And but he was really excited. He was just thrilled. You know, he would couple times when we would do very local conventions, and I would basically go, with mostly pages from our local newspaper. I'd
Yeah.
draw on them, I'd sign them, and he would sign them as well,
How cool
and
is that?
which was really sweet. We haven't done one of those in a number of years, since before the pandemic. So I don't know. He's changed a lot. But I think he still likes it. It's never one of those things of like, oh, Dad.
Right.
I think he likes it, but he's not quite as outwardly enthusiastic as he used to be.
Uh, uh, when I was a young person, my mother was a commercial artist, and every apartment we lived in, she had this room with like drafting tables and funky looking tools and markers and stuff. And I was just enthralled with that space. So it's got to be really cool for him to be have a house where you're upstairs with lots of interesting things you're doing.
Yeah, I think it is. He's like I said, he's not as involved with it as he used to be.
Right.
We also have like we have a really damp and crappy basement where we have a painting studio too.
Mm,
I
mhm,
did a lot of um, abstract expressionist painting,
mm.
and so he would do that with me. But he is mostly, his mom is a musician,
Oh,
and his other thing, he was always good at art. There were times when I would be teaching, when you know when I would be when I was trying to teach a little bit more nuts and bolts, where I was talking about perspective and teaching it, and occasionally when I'd have to watch Ben, I would bring him into class,
mhm.
and so he'd be in class and stuff. And one time, class is over, and he comes over and he goes, Dad, can you explain what you're doing here? And I walk him through it in like 5 minutes. He goes, You mean like this?
Mhm.
Draws it out. I'm like, I've been dragging my class through this for 3 weeks trying to get them to do this. So he has a natural talent for it. But the other
Yeah.
thing is, he's a musician.
Wow.
And so drumming has been his thing since he was practically an infant.
Wow.
He was always drumming on stuff, you know, and he's definitely, he's a drummer. That's what he likes to do. So what would be in most houses the living room,
Mhm.
is a drum room. It's just filled with various parts of drum kits that he is switching out and refinagling into Frankenstein drum kits all the
Wow.
time.
I love creative families.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
really
it's
cool.
it's really fun, and it gave him something to do when the pandemic hit and everyone was in
Mm,
lockdown.
mhm, mhm.
He we were lucky enough to, he could go between my house and his mom's house, so he had two different places to be. Didn't feel like he was necessarily trapped.
Right.
And then, he had these outlets of being able to draw and paint and stuff, but certainly being able to drum
Mhm.
and do music. So I think that's been very advantageous.
That's awesome. John, I've had a great time talking to you. Where does the time go? It's what I
Where
always
does the
say
time go?
about this time. But before we get out of here, answer a question. Where can people find you on the internets?
The easiest thing, pretty much, so everything is underneath this. So if you search up Daddy Days, and that's DAZE comic, .com, that'll take you right to King Feature's site. But I'm also on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram under that as well. And I usually post the strip of the day there so that people can see it. And I'll post other things too. I'll often post sort of, like work in progress stuff just
Yeah,
for
yeah,
fun.
yeah.
And then I also have my other, you can find me under my regular name,
Mhm.
where I'll post the same thing, but sometimes I'll post um stuff from my old strip, Bonanas, stuff from my sketchbook, and other stuff. But anyway, you can find me easily.
Well, that's great. John, I had a fantastic time speaking with you today.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much.
much.
I was really happy to do this.
I'm looking forward to what the open housers have to ask you about when we do when
Yeah.
they see us live.
I've probably said too much and they won't have any questions.
You
So
should-
everybody in the future watching this, try not to embarrass me. Ask a question.
That's right. Yeah, ask a question now. You have homework. But thank you so much. And I also look forward to seeing you at the Rubens,
Yeah.
and that'll be to be continued.
To be continued.
Thanks a lot. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks.